ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुस्साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। नमामि गौडपादं च शङ्करं श्रीसुरेश्वरं स्वामिनं सच्चिदानन्दमिन्द्रं तं ज्ञानरूपिणे। ओम ओम नारायण नारायण नारायण। अध्यासं पुरस्कृत्य सर्वे प्रमाणप्रमेय व्यवहाराः, द एंटायर व्यवहार means everything other than Brahman. That means the duality, subject, object, the interactions, knowledges, karmas and experiences. Okay, the knowledge, the karmas and activities and also various experiences. And this janma, next janma, this world, other world, all these things, the entire universal, the entire universe consisting of all kinds of activities. All this is Vyavahara. All this Vyavahara is within Adhyasa. Within Adhyasa means what? In not understanding, not knowing them to be Brahman. In knowing Brahman, there is only one Brahma. The subject, object, duality and interaction, none of them exist. All of them merge into one Brahma. Therefore, Brahmatvam is an Anubhava. It doesn't come into Vyavahara, okay? To do Vyavahara, you have to assume an individual and act. So, all our interaction with the people and the society and the world, you are acting as an individual. Individual may be real or individuality may be false. False in the sense you have transcended it, yet it may be apparent one like a role in a drama. When you understand the role in a drama is just a false appearance, you are not that. You are only an actor. For the onlooker, you continue to be the same. You will be the same person, but from your own standpoint as an actor, the role doesn't exist for you. You remain an actor without any role. The role is only a thought alone. It doesn't exist. But in Vyavahara, in the drama action, all that appears to be there. There is no event actually. There is no killing, there is no loss of life, kingdoms and the cities and towns, none of them exist in the drama. They are only pictures and only in your orally you talk about them. They don't exist. Similarly, all this Vyavahara is only an appearance. When you transcend the appearance and understand the truth of it, from your Anubhava, from the standpoint of your experience, there is no world. There is no worldly interactions, worldly duality and all that. Okay. But it may appear from the worldly standpoint. Okay. Therefore, Vyavaharaha is Adhyasta. Adhyasta means only it is an imposed upon the Atman and doesn't belong to the level of Atman. To the real nature of Atman, all this Vyavahara doesn't belong. That means Atma is not an individual from its own standpoint. From the in the original nature of Atma, Atma has never been an individual. Therefore, it is to the individual that the world, time, space, objects appear. Therefore, to the real nature of Atma, the pure consciousness, there is no world other than itself. There are no individuals. There is no time, space, objects, interactions, experiences, good and bad, none of them exist. Punya, Papa, all of them exist. So he transcends all these apparent world and stays as Brahman. Okay, that means Vyavahara is only in the appearance alone is the Vyavahara, not in existence. See, the existence is different from appearance. In appearance, there is Vyavahara. Appearance itself is Vyavahara. Existence neither appears nor there is any Vyavahara. So, you exist as Brahman, you appear as an individual. So, in the level of appearance is all Vyavahara. All Vyavahara is appearance is in terms of thought. Appearance is not only to the eyes, but in terms of your thinking, experiencing and all that. So all this mind, at the level of mind and mind level experiences, all this is adhyastha. That means, adhyastha means, mind is adhyastha. It only means when you are at the level of mind, when you are existing as a mind, when you think as a mind, when you act as a mind, when you undergo all the experiences through mind, when you are living through the mind, at the level of the mind, that is not the reality. The mind, when you are living at the level of the mind, that level of living is not your real nature. In your real nature, you are not a mind. That means, when you as you are, in your real nature, you are neither the mind nor individual nor all your activities. The activities may appear, but you don't exist at that level. You don't live at the level of individuality, interactions, experiences and acts, good and bad and all that. Knowledges, experiences and karmas. You don't exist at that level. You don't live at that level. You transcend it and you exist at another level, where you are non-dual and pure consciousness and all happy, fearless, free from birth and death and all. Therefore, in that non-recognition of that absolute truth, there is an appearance. Appearance is one level, your real nature is another level. So we are talking, in your appearance level is all Vyavahara. All Vyavahara itself is an appearance. Therefore, Vyavahara, interaction, subject-object duality, all this is an appearance level. This level is not existing. It appears. Because it appears. That is the thing. Very appearance is from the standpoint of appearance. It is an imposed one. It's not really existing. So you are existing as a non-dual one, free from Vyavahara. So in your real core of you, in your real nature, even now you are free from Vyavahara. You are free from individuality, free from world. Free from individuality, free from world, free from all interactions, all good and bad and positive, negative, favorable, unfavorable, pleasure, pain, gain and loss. None of them exist in your real nature. That real nature is existing even now. It gets covered by this individuality. And when you are relating, when you are looking at through the level of individuality, you think that you are an individual, there is a world, you are interacting, you are getting, gaining, losing, sometimes gain, sometimes loss, all good and bad and all these things are appearing. But all this is in spite of appearance, it's not reality. Means it is not real existence. It is not your real core of your Atma. It is not your real nature of Atma. In the Atma, this Vyavahara doesn't exist. Therefore, we say Vyavahara is imposed. Vyavahara is Adhyasa. Vyavahara is imposed only means you are in a thought. You are in a thought which doesn't represent your true nature. Vyavahara is a mind. Mind means thinking. You are in the level of a thought. You are in the level of certain thinking, the thinking which doesn't represent your true nature. This is what Adhyasa means. See, the implication of Adhyasa has to be properly understood. I am explaining it from different angles, different words, so that the exact implication of Adhyasa is rightly understood. It is a highly technical term, Adhyasa. Technical means it is a highly loaded word. It has got a much deeper meaning. People take Adhyasa means their own meaning and that meaning doesn't satisfy them. That meaning doesn't answer all their questions. Again the question continues, the problem continues. Again and again they put the question. So, if you understand Adhyasa in this sense, as I am explaining from different angles, its different implications of calling it Adhyasa has to be understood. Then all the doubts are cleared and you really transcend that Adhyasa level. Adhyasa is a level, it is not an existence. It is a level of a thinking. You have to transcend. That thinking, transcend means what? It exists when you think of it. When you own it up, it exists for you. When you transcend, it doesn't exist for you. That's all it means. The thing itself is neither really existing nor nobody really destroys. It's like a dream. Dream neither really exists nor anybody really destroys it. See, dream doesn't exist really. Nobody destroys it really. Nobody gives up the dream and goes elsewhere. See, when you give up the dream, does it exist somewhere? When you are experiencing, it looks all reality. That means it is one level of experience, one level of thinking. You come out of it, you transcend it. When you transcend, it doesn't exist for you who transcended it. For you, it doesn't exist. But you have not destroyed the dream. You have not destroyed the dream because you have not created. See, neither you create the dream nor you destroy the dream. Neither it really exists nor it ceases to exist. Note this point. Dream neither really born nor anybody can destroy it. Nobody ever when you wake up from the dream, do you destroy the dream? Or dream ceases to be relevant to you? It doesn't exist for you, that's all. You don't destroy it. Because you have not created it. Therefore, you won't destroy it. That means dream can neither be created nor destroyed. Dream, you can say that neither dream exists nor it ceases to exist. Existing, ceasing to exist, both are only within the state. But state as a whole, when you feel, it is for you. When you think of it, when you experience it, it is for you. When you transcend it, it's not there for you. That's all we can say. When you are within it, when you take the standpoint of dream, entering into the dream means what? It is not an event. It is not an action. Nobody enters. One finds oneself in the dream. That means it is a standpoint. You find a standpoint of a dream. That's all dream world is there. All real activity, good and bad and pain and pleasure and gain and loss, everything seems to be normal like any other world. But once you transcend, once you wake up, the dream doesn't exist for you, that's all. You don't destroy it. Did you ever see destroying the dream? One by one, break everything and burn everything. No breaking, no burning, no destroying. You transcend, you shift your standpoint to your level, it's not there. Not only to you, it neither existed before, nor it exists now, nor it will exist tomorrow. Nasidasti bhavishyati. All these things are there in Samskrita shlokas, in Samskrita bhashya. So the dream neither existed before, nor exists now, nor will it ever exist. It only appeared from the standpoint of appearance. The standpoint you drop, it's not there for you. That's all it means. Okay? Therefore, adhyasa is a thinking. When you cease that thinking, when you transcend that thinking, it's not there for you. That's all. This is what Vedanta is. Avidya, adhyasa means it seems to be there. That's all. How it started, you can't tell. Who started, how it started, there is no question of starting. Does it exist? We don't know. But experience seems to be as if it is existing. You have an experiencing as if it is existing. Whether it really exists or not, you don't know. You talk about dream. Does the dream exist? Does the dream really exist? Nobody can prove. Nobody can prove the real existence of a dream. You can only say that I feel that it really exists. I've been feeling like that. You feel as if the dream really exists. All experiences, good and bad and positive, negative, everything goes on. The world and individual life, everything seems to be going on. That's all. Therefore, at that time, you can't prove whether dream really exists or not. But there is an experience as if it is there. There is an experience as if it is there really. That's all we can say. That's all we can say, that it is as if it really exists. Everything normally goes on. Everything as if really there. But once you wake up, do you destroy it? No, I don't destroy. Then what happens? What happens to the dream? There is no happening because it doesn't exist at all. That's all. You come to an understanding. You come to realize a depth in you, an understanding in you, an awareness in you. From that standpoint, dream ceases to be relevant. Dream is irrelevant. So, irrelevant means its existence, non-existence, it is real or unreal, all of them cease. They have no meaning. That's all. The dream itself has no meaning. You can't say it existed before and now it has gone. You can't say that. Did it exist? No. Or did it go away? Go away, I can't say, because going away implies that it existed before. Going away implies that it existed before. Neither it existed nor it goes away. See how it is. But at the time of experience, you have an experience as if everything is there. That's what we mean. Just what dream means. Dream means while experiencing it, you experience as if it is there. That's all you can prove. You can't prove anything beyond it. It really exists. On what basis you assert that it is really existing, it is really eternal? On what basis? This is what my experience is. That's what we also say. You have an experience of it, that it is really there, it is always there. That's all you can say. But you have no other way of proving. There is no independent way of proving that it really exists and it is eternal. There is no way of proving it. Because to prove independently means you have to come out of the dream and prove it. You come out of the dream, then dream is not there. You can't prove it. Within the dream, you can't prove it. When you come out of the dream, you can't prove it. Then what do you say? You don't know. You can't say anything about it. Because it is a standpoint. It is a question of standpoint. When you take the dream standpoint, it is there as if really there. So you don't have a question whether the dream world exists or not. Nobody has a question because it is there. Everybody is going on doing everything normally. All good and bad and pain and pleasure, anukula, pratikula, favorable and unfavorable, everything is there. So nobody gets a doubt. Therefore, nobody does research whether the world is really existing or not. Because you don't need to. Nobody has any doubt about it. See, regarding the dream, nobody has any. Similarly, about this world, nobody has any doubt. Is world real or unreal? Is mithya? People say. I say, who has got doubt? Tell me first. Who has got doubt? Nobody has any doubt. Then where is the question? Where is the question to prove that it is real or unreal? You need to prove neither real nor unreal because it is already there. Do you try to prove that the dream is real when you were in dream? See, when you were in dream, did you try to prove that the dream is real? There is no need to prove because it is already there. Everybody, you take it as real. You find it as a real, you take it as a real, you behave it as a real, you act and live and experience as a real. So nobody has any doubt, nobody need to prove. To who is to prove to whom? Everybody takes the world. Everybody is seeing, experiencing the world as real. So nobody need to prove, no question is entertained, everybody laughs at it and people take it there, it is there, as if it is there. You have an experience that it is there, that's all we can say. You have an experience that it is there. There is a strong belief in your mind that it is there really. That's all we can say. But once you wake up, now tell me world is real or not. You say, you don't need to prove anything. World is real or mithya. While in dream, you don't need to prove. Once you wake up, there is no need to prove. This is what it is. That's why this Satya Mithya argument is waste. In Facebook, they keep on arguing. I found they are all wasting people. They have not understood the basic implication of it. Therefore, it is to be understood from Shastra, understood with the help of the Guru, not keep on arguing themselves when they are in confusion. A person under confusion keeps on arguing with another person who is also under confusion. Two people who are misunderstood, two Ajnanis discover Vedanta, two Ajnanis discuss Vedanta and discover the truth. I ask you the question. Do Ajnanis or 10 Ajnanis come together and discuss and then discover Vedanta? No way. Because one person supposing there is one person who doesn't know Sanskrit, he doesn't know a single word of Sanskrit. Another person also doesn't know a single word of Sanskrit. There is another person, like this there are 10 people. None of them knows Sanskrit. If all of them come together, by exchanging, by discussing, by sharing with each other, will they become Sanskrit scholars? None of them knew starting point any single word of Sanskrit. They come together. Let us learn Sanskrit. Come on. Start. Let us learn Sanskrit. He says, yes, let us learn Sanskrit. Another person says, yes, let us learn Sanskrit. One person says, hey, how long you say, let us learn. Come on, start. Somebody says, come on, start. Another person says, come on, start. Another person says, come on, let us start. Yes, I start. Okay, you begin. He says, you begin. No, I don't know anything. Come on, he says, I too don't know anything. Come on, you begin. I begin. Where will you end up? After how many days will they learn Sanskrit? From the ignorance, knowledge doesn't arise. Okay? All ignorant people come together, discuss. What do they discuss? They discuss their own confusion. They discuss in such a way that they continue in the confusion. It's impossible to come out. Therefore, this idea of mithya is as confusing as this. All people who do not know Sanskrit, 10 people come together and discuss. Somebody told, why do you discuss unnecessarily when none of you knows Sanskrit? When none of you knows Sanskrit, why do you discuss? There's no point in it. Go to somebody, one person who knows Sanskrit, and call him and he'll teach you. You'll learn within no time, within short time. He says, no, we'll discuss and learn. But do you know Sanskrit? We don't know, but we want to learn. That's why we discuss. Come on, discuss. Like this, you don't know what is mithya, but you want to discuss what is mithya. How do you discuss? When you don't know mithya and you want to discuss. With whom another person, he also doesn't know what is mithya. But he imagines. That imagination itself is a false thinking. And he doesn't know what is mithyatva. He has not understood. Another person comes, he also doesn't know what is mithya. Another person comes, he also doesn't know what is mithya. With all these 5 to 10 people come together and discuss. Then the enlightenment comes. You see, 5 or 10 ignorant people come together and they produce knowledge. This is strange. 10 people who do not know single word of Sanskrit, never heard what is Sanskrit. It is really surprising. Many places. I'll give you 2 examples. Somewhere I was going, then a phone came and I was speaking by phone. Then after I completed my call, somebody neighboring asks me, what language is that? I was surprised. People living in India cannot recognize when I speak in Sanskrit. People can't even recognize. See, there are certain languages we don't know, but we can recognize, oh, this seems to be Gujarati. Oh, this seems to be Marathi. We can recognize from the few words or something. But people, Indians, are such that if somebody is speaking in Sanskrit, he couldn't recognize. I told it is Sanskrit. And that person says, oh, I'm hearing it for the first time in my life. Oh, can people speak in Sanskrit? I said, we do routinely, this is what we do. He says, oh, there are people who speak in Sanskrit? Yes, there are plenty, I told. He was surprised. And another place, somebody came to see me, 2 or 3 people. And there is another brahmachari came with me. He introduced them to me. And Swamiji, they want to have your darshan and all that. He spoke all this in Sanskrit. Among the people who have come, one person was surprised. And he says, hey, what is that language he is speaking? What is the language he is speaking? He didn't answer. That brahmachari didn't answer, kept quiet. Another person could not control his curiosity. Again he asked. Then his friend who came with him, he says, it is Sanskrit language they are speaking in. Oh, he was shocked. Oh, is it like that? Is there a Sanskrit? Do people speak in Sanskrit? Oh, yes. Like this. When a person doesn't know a single word of Sanskrit, such 10 people come together and discuss. What is mithya? Okay, come on, discuss. Isn't it surprising? People have no jignasa. People have an enthusiasm to discuss with another person who himself doesn't know. People love to discuss for sake of discussing, argument for sake of argument, not to understand the truth. But there are many people who know. Why don't you go and ask them? No, they don't ask. I don't know what is the reason. I never understand. Vedanta Jnanam is something that needs to be understood with the help of a guru. And you avoid guru and discuss among yourself because we are ignorant, we don't know anything but health, yet we are discussing. Okay, discuss. Let me see what will you discover one day. Therefore, people totally ignorant cannot discuss. Somebody who knows can help you to understand it. Okay, therefore, mithyatvam is a difficult point to understand. Not that mithyatvam is really difficult. A right way of looking is required. That's what it is, that's all. If you look at it right way, you can understand. Anybody can understand. But that right way has to come from Shastra or Guru. A person who has transcended the reality of the world, he alone can explain. All other people living in the dream, it is like living in the dream and trying to prove that the dream is mithya. You were in dream and you took it as a waking alone. Did you ever see that the dream is a dream while experiencing the dream? Nobody can ever do that. You take it as a waking alone. And the person who takes the dream state as a waking while experiencing it, he wants to argue and prove that dream is a mithya. Whom will you prove to? And then proving mithyatva means what? You are no more in dream. A person sitting in dream wants to prove that dream is mithya. That means a person who is in dream wants to prove that he is outside dream. You understand the point? A person who is within dream wants to prove to others that he is outside dream. Come on, prove it. Come on, prove it. Let us know how genius you are. You are in dream and you want to prove dream is mithya. Is it ever possible to understand dream is mithya as long as you are in dream? As long as you discuss with another person who is also part of your dream. No way of understanding. Okay. Therefore, a person living in dream, experiencing dream, cannot prove that the dream is unreal. And he doesn't have to prove that dream is real because he's already experiencing it, so he doesn't have a doubt whether dream is real or not. Obviously, it is real. Real means it is there. It exists. Because your mind thinks it exists. So, during dream, while experiencing the dream, you don't have to prove that it is satyam. You can't prove that it is mithya. The moment you wake up, you don't need to prove anything because already clear. This is what is mithya. People argue, so I don't understand what is there to argue. It is so simple. It is very simple to understand it is mithya. They keep on arguing. I don't know, I just gave up. Gave up means I just found these people are arguing and wasting time. Instead of understanding from the right angle, right guru, they are imagining from their own level and each one is giving his own explanation. I don't know how they convince others, how they explain. These are all imaginary thoughts. They are not direct experiences, they are only imaginary thoughts. Okay, therefore, a person who is in dream cannot prove it to be mithya. When you wake up, you have no doubt at all because everything is clear, self-evident. This is what mithya means. Okay, this is how you understand mithyatva. Not by arguing all waste. Therefore, while experiencing dream, you experience as a waking alone. You think it is a waking, it is eternal. But you have another experience where the entire waking becomes dream. You wake up and it's gone. Similarly, this is mithya. So the vyavahara is, all vyavahara is due to adhyasa. So Jagat is a mithya, means transcending it. You cease to be an individual as a part of a world. As long as you are an individual and a part of the world, you can never understand the world. Because you are the part, you are the world to be understood. You become the part of the world, you become a world. When you become the world, you can't understand yourself. When you come out of the world, you can understand it. Isn't it? Similarly, transcending the world alone is possible, not destroying the world. Dream world cannot be destroyed. Dream as a state, nobody can destroy. When you come out of the world, who comes out? Is it the dreaming person? Dreaming person ceases to exist when you wake up. Then who woke up? It's a very strange question. Does the dreaming person wake up from dream? Or is another person who wakes up from dream? It's a very interesting question. The dreaming person cannot wake up because the dreaming person has to be part of dream. Dreaming person has to be part of a dream, part of the dream, and he can't wake up, nor he can understand the world as mithya. Understanding mithya involves that you have to come out of the dream. But if you come out of the dream, you are not the same person who was experiencing the dream. See, this is a strange thing about Mithyatva. Therefore, this is a very deeper point. You have to understand it with a lot of mananam. So, the world is a real, dream is a real, that's how you experience it. We don't know whether it is real or not. Real means existing. Whether it is there, I don't know, but I'm experiencing it that way. That's what we can say. I can only refer to my experience, but I have no way whether my experience itself is right or wrong. I can't draw any conclusion based upon that. Can you make a conclusion based upon your experience of a dream as waking? Therefore, it is waking. Can you make a conclusion? You can only refer your experience. You can only repeat the experience you have. Then you don't call dream as a dream. You call it a waking alone. That's how you experience it. But once you wake up from dream, oh, there is another way. There is another adbhutavada, wonderful way. Therefore, Mithyatvam is not intellectual concept. You can't understand Mithyatvam because it's not an intellectual concept. But the very transcending is an experience in which the waking individuality is not there. That is transcending. That is waking up. That is awakening. In that awakening, there is no individual. When there is no individual, then where is the question of the world? World appears to that individual only. Okay. Adarinda, Jagat is mithya means in this sense. Because nobody has produced the dream. Nobody can destroy it. It just is. That's all you can say. It is there for whom? For the person who looks at it, for him alone, not for everybody. Similarly, Jagat is to the person who is seeing, not really existing. Okay. Sarvopi vyavaharaha. Therefore, vyavahara is mithya. Means, while vyavahara, it appears as if it is all there. But once you transcend, you can't say anything about it, because there is nothing. Did you destroy it? No. Then did it perish on its own? That I don't know. It's not there, I can say. That's all. I am the consciousness with no world experience. That's all you can say. Isn't it? Therefore, Pramata, Pramana, Prameya, all this Vyavahara appears to be there, really there. Therefore, dream experience is not any criterion to decide whether dream is real or unreal. Dream experience itself is not a criterion. Then when you wake up really, there is no world. So you don't have to prove anything because automatically it is not there. That is a question of proof. Therefore, this Vyavahara, Laukikaha Vaidikascha Pravruttaha, not only the empirical social activity, non-religious activity, but even the religious thought also. You have to transcend. I mean, the religious Vyavahara also doesn't exist for Atma. It doesn't exist. That's all is an understanding. You don't destroy it. You don't go away from it. It ceases to be there. There is another level in you of Atma. There the world doesn't exist on its own. Where it appeared, it appeared. When I come out of it, I don't say anything. Similarly, Mithya means nobody has created, nobody can destroy. It is just a common platform for everybody, universally accepted by all, is Maya or Mithya. Okay. प्रत्यक्षादिशब्दप्रत्ययाः तदनुगुणप्रवृत्तिनिवृत्तिरूपाश्च ते सर्वेपि उक्त अविद्याख्य अध्यासपुरस्सरमेव. I gave you already example, so I'll proceed with the next sentence. Tadanuguna. I think we'll stop it. I'm feeling tired. Idam tatra idam pramanam idam prameyam iti krutva ye vyavaharaha pratyakshadi shabda pratyaya rupaha tadanuguna pravrutti nivritti rupascha te sarvepi ukta vidya kya adhyasa purassarameva pravruttaah. So keeping assume as a basis, keeping adhyasa as a basis, all this vyavahara nuts. Means all this vyavahara is not representing Atma. That's all. Adhyasa means what? The appearance of snake. What appears is a snake. The snake doesn't represent real Manusha. Rajju. The snake doesn't represent Rajju. It is presenting him something differently. That different alone you have to give up. Okay. Idam prameyamiti krutva ye vyavaharaha pratyakshadi vyavaharaha तदनुगुण प्रवृत्ति निवृत्त रूपतश्चास्ते सर्वेपि युक्त अविद्याख्यम अध्यास पुरस्सरमेव प्रवृत्ताः. ನಾನು ನೀನು ಇದು ಅದು ಇತ್ಯಾದಿಗಳಿವೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಅಧ್ಯಾಸಂ ಪರಸ್ಕೃತ್ಯ ಅಂದರೆ ತಪ್ಪು ತಿಳುವಳಿಕೆಯಲ್ಲೇ ತೋರ್ತಾ ಇವೆ. ಲೋಕೆ ಭವಂತಿಯೇ ತೇ ಲೌಕಿಕಾಹ. ದಟ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಲೌಕಿಕ ವ್ಯವಹಾರ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಕಾಮನ್ ವರ್ಲ್ಡ್ಲಿ ವ್ಯವಹಾರ. ವೈದಿಕ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಆಲ್ ದ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟಿ ಬೇಸ್ಡ್ ಅಪಾನ್ ದ ಶಾಸ್ತ್ರಾಸ್ ಟೀಚಿಂಗ್. like this. यद्यपि प्रतिज्ञाभाष्ये नैसर्गिकोऽयं लोकव्यवहारः इत्येतावदुक्तं तथापि लोक्यते इति लोकः दृश्यम् अप्रमेयवर्गः. ಓಕೆ, ಲೋಕೋ ಗೃಹ್ಯ ಪ್ರಮೇಯೋ ವರ್ಗ. ಲೋಕ ಎಲ್ಲ ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೇ ಎಲ್ಲ ಅವರು ರಿಪೀಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಹೌ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್. ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾಟ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಲೌಕಿಕ ವ್ಯವಹಾರ ಈಸ್ ಡ್ಯೂ ಟು ಅವಿದ್ಯಾ, ಈವನ್ ಶಾಸ್ತ್ರೀಯ ಕರ್ಮಾಸ್, ಶಾಸ್ತ್ರಾಸ್ ಬಿಲೀಫ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಕರ್ಮ, ದೇ ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ ಬಿಲಾಂಗ್ ಟು ಸೇಮ್ ಥಿಂಗ್. ಆಲ್ ಶಾಸ್ತ್ರೀಯ ವ್ಯವಹಾರ ಈಸ್ ಅಧ್ಯಾಸ. ನಾಟ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಲೌಕಿಕ, ಈವನ್ ದ ಶಾಸ್ತ್ರೀಯ ಆಲ್ಸೋ. ರಿಗಾರ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ದ ಶಾಸ್ತ್ರೀಯ ವ್ಯವಹಾರ, ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್, 37th ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್. I think we will see in the next class. 37th. 36th point, it has been hanging for some months and days and months. The 36th point we have concluded. We'll go to the 37th point in the next class. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Hari Om Tat Sat.